It's been an issue that's dogged relations between the United States and China for months. But now Barack Obama